And the sergeant on the DV unit had fought not to get me locked up. Where are you going with this? So like, come on. Oh, no. Oh, Matt, you're going to get served gross misconduct papers. I was like, what? My then partner, I thought she was going on to nights. And I'd been out my bike and I messaged her and I just said, look, enjoy your night shift. She said, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to try and get some sleep before I go. I was like, right, love you, blah, blah, blah. She rings about 10 o'clock on the night, crying, and I thought, well, something happened at work. So I was like, you all right? She was like, no. And then paralytic, drunks, some self-harm had gone on. And basically, I'm leaving you. So this went on all night. I'm trying to get a friends round because I was concerned for her safety, and this went on and on. So I'd had no sleep. Went to the course lead and said, look, I need to go home.
Yeah.
I have to go. And he was like, your exam. And I went, I'm not bothered. And he was like,
family first.
He was family first. He said, but I think you should. And I went, right, just give me the exam. 95%.
Oh, right.
I just done. He was like, what? And I said, I'm off.
Yeah.
I mean, right into Middlesbrough is not a nice drive. It's a right mess on. So it was 4 hours or something. So I got home. House was empty. She'd gone. That was it. So relationship ended. Flit in the night while I wasn't there. So in relation to the police wanting to speak to me, a couple of weeks later, she finally made some contact, said I need to speak to you. And it was really strange, really, really strange. It was about 2 PM and she came round and she was in like half blue. So she was in a police trousers, a boots with a civvy coat on. I thought, this is weird. And she was like, work, I want to speak to you. And I knew. And I went, what have you said? And she was like, well, it's not me. I went in for a welfare meeting with my inspector and she said that I'm being controlled by you and you're being coercive. And I was like, oh, no. While she's speaking to me, her sergeant rings her and they go through the DV form with her. And I'm thinking, what? So you're in the house of the perpetrator doing a DV form and your supervision don't know you're here. That's how scared you are of this situation. I just thought, what? So I contact DSE, professional standards, and I was like, what's going on? They were like, well, how do you know? And I was like, well, because she's been round and told me. And they were like, oh, well, this isn't good. And I was like, then for 24 hours, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get arrested.
So what had she divulged to the supervisors?
So I found out once so in the end, I was ended up taken to Hartlepool police station as a voluntary attender. She'd refused to hand her phone over. They asked me for my phone and I was like, well, it's not for me to prove, so no.
Yeah.
And I was running a kids' football team, my kids, on the phone. I was like, no. And then it was stuff like, you once said to her that she's not allowed to wear makeup for work. I used to tell her that she used to go to the gym because she was fat. All of this stuff. And I was like, I'm going to stop you there. I said, she's a size 8.
Yeah.
For starters.
Were these questions asked during an interview?
Yes.
Voluntary interview?
So voluntary interview.
How did it feel being
horrific?
Tell me about
the worst part was getting booked into custody. That was so they opened Hartlepool custody up to get me in. Because obviously they didn't want me going to Middlesbrough, which was fair enough.
You're not meant to be taken to a foreign force?
If you're arrested, I think. I don't know the full ins and outs.
Oh, right, okay.
I'll come on to that.
Right, okay.
So getting booked into custody, I thought, I feel like a right shitbag here. Like, I felt like dirty, like a criminal. And when they was telling the custody sergeant I was going, in my head I'm thinking,
So they were explaining the circumstances.
Almost, yeah. We need to get him in. He's been, controlling coercive behaviour. And I'm like, what? So we get in for an interview and this stuff starts coming out. I was like, look, I'm going to have to stop you there. I said, I tell her to go to the gym because it's good for her mental health. And I disclosed a lot of stuff about what I lived with.
Yeah.
So as a snippet, I've read 4 suicide notes.
Okay.
A bit of self-harm and stuff. And I was like, this is what I live with. And they were like, oh. And I was like... So I went through it. And I just disclosed that I'd been the victim of some domestic violence, physical and emotionally. And they weren't interested. There was a female interviewer as well, and part of it was around finances. And I said, look, I don't control her finances. I said, in fact, when I get paid overtime, I give her money to pay off a credit card. Oh, well, that was never mentioned. And I'm like, but I said, in most relationships, somebody generally is in charge of the money.
Yeah.
I went, and then they started to talk about sex a lot, and I was thinking, where are you going with this? And it was really strange. I knew they were holding back on some stuff. I knew they were.
Well, of course, because you'll have done many, many interviews yourself.
So I was going, well, where are you going with this? So like, come on. Oh, no. So we leave the interview, and it was really weird how I felt. I was dead calm because I knew I'd done nothing wrong. And I was like, this is bizarre.
I mean, what does that do to you mentally and physically?
At the time,
being on the other side of that table, the interview table.
It didn't hit me till 2 days later. So 2 days later, I get asked to go into Red Car Nick, where I worked as a Spock. And my office manager, Emma, who I have told you this before, without her and a couple of other people, I would generally not be sat here. Like, she's an angel to me. She said, oh, Matt, you're going to get served gross misconduct papers. I was like, what? I've never, I've got commendations. And in 19 years policing, not an ounce of bother. I've done work for counter-corruption. I've done work for professional standards with phone work, and they've come to me for advice, and I'm like, yeah, I'll help. And I was like, what? So when I go to the Fed building, I mean, my Fed rep at the time was awful. Woeful. I go in and I'm in bits, crying, like, what is this? And he went, oh, do you want a brew? And I was like, not really. And he was like, oh, don't worry about it. He said, you should see what other people have got on. Yeah. And I was like, and he went, the best of it is, laughing, he went, they looked at rape. The inspector crimed a rape against you. I didn't know that.
Right.
And I was like, what? And he was like, oh, didn't you know? And I was like, no. So basically, my ex had said, oh, there'll be times when we go to bed. This is what I've been told has been said. And I didn't want to have sex. He did. But he never knew I didn't want to. So we'd have sex. It was consensual, but I didn't really want to. Mm. Her inspector crimed rapes. And apparently the domestic violence unit went in the next day and went, no. Like, what is that? So then it starts. So then I go on the sick, and then the journey of the enormity of what is happening.
You went on the sick. Was that because of what you were having to deal with?
I went on the sick with stress.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't process this at the minute. And
what effect did that have on you? So if you couldn't come to work due to stress, what did the stress do to you?
Well, I wish I had it now, because I lost about 2 stone. Huh? I could do with losing a bit of clem now, but I lost weight. But I threw myself into decorating my house. I was like, right, ripping carpets up. Couldn't afford new I had no money. So I did all my floorboards up, and my dad helped me, and walking a lot, just walking the dog, and like, what is going on? I was thinking, why is it taking so long? I haven't done anything. So 6 weeks later, I get a phone call. And it was from the sergeant who didn't want to lock me up. And he said, right, Matt, he said, I've got some good news. And I was like, well, nothing's good news in this. What is it? And he just said, you've got no case to answer.
Yeah.
He said, we've been forced to go down the path of going for victims prosecution.
All right.
I was like, based on what? And he was like, don't. He just said, don't. He said, I can't go there with it, because he said, I'm not happy. So I started crying, and me and my dad have this real funny relationship where we'll give each other a cuddle. I'm very cuddly. My dad's like, this is nice.
Yeah.
But we've got closer. I was bursting at tears, and he just grabbed me. And he said, is this out of relief or what is it? And I just said, I just don't know.